Welcome friends to another r/I don't work here lady video. I know you don't work here yet, but I'm opening up to apply. All you gotta do is hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. But in all seriousness, our first story of the day is by Snoo21321. I don't work here, and no, it's not a dead dog. During the pandemic, I've been doing some arts and crafts, and I usually wear standard office dress clothes for a male. Slacks, dress shirt, tie. A few days ago, I ran an errand on my lunch hour. I go to so-and-so craft store for some yarn. I go straight to the yarn aisle and find some black yarn and gray yarn, and I'm holding this in my left hand while I have my cell phone in my right. I'm walking to the register and a woman comes out of one of the aisles, comes to a dead stop and turns white. She in a shocked voice says, "Where did you find that?" I say, "In the yarn section." She says, "Do you need a mop? Are you gonna find the owner?" I said, "What? I'm going to purchase this." She says, "Are you the manager?" I say, "I'm a customer." She says, "What's that in your hand?" I hold the yarn out and say, "It's yarn. What do you think it is?" She says, "I thought you had a dead dog." I'm sorry, but what world are we living in where you go to a craft store, you see somebody walking around with some hair-like looking thing? Yeah, I think that's a dead dog. I think this lady just was having one of those days where whatever your brain thinks, it's just not making any sense. Have you ever had a moment like this where something seems so obvious in retrospect, but in the moment you thought it was something totally weird? Like maybe you thought you saw a UFO, but then you looked over and it's a street lamp. Or you thought you saw a dragon flying by, but then you realize, oh, it was just a dude on a motorcycle. You ever have a moment like that? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Coldwater. Some people are insanely stupid. This winter, since the gyms were closed due to COVID, I had to run in the cold and snowy streets of Montreal. This day in particular was very cold, so I had pants, a long sleeve shirt, a windbreaker, a buff for my neck, a toque, and headphones. I'd been running for quite a while, so ice started to form on my buff where I exhaled. I had my glasses on and they began to get very foggy. I was also a bit sweaty and my toque was sliding down, showing wet locks of hair. My run ended and I called my girlfriend who asked me to pick up some things at the supermarket. I enter said store immediately after my run, still sweating and generally looking like a mess. I was picking up a sack of potatoes while holding a shopping basket with the other hand when I hear an entitled and annoying voice say, "Excuse me, do you work here?" I turn my head and see this middle-aged lady staring at me waiting for my help. I was so dumbfounded by this question that I just look up and down at my own body thinking, who the freak would think I look like a supermarket employee dressed like that? So I just reply with concern and disgust in my voice. Do I honestly look like I work here? Seriously, this is ridiculous. To which she replied, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know." I just exchanged a head shake with another perplexed customer, witness of our interaction, and moved on with my life, wading my way through the fog. On this day, I learned what a toque is. Being from the hot, humid southern regions of the United States, we don't see too many toques here, which is just another name for beanie. I don't know if that means I'm uncultured, but I'm probably uncultured. Our next story is by rtiger32a, confused for a cashier. For some background, when this happened, I was in my late 20s and working as a freelance IT field technician. I look very young for my age and can easily be mistaken for a late teenager. Day to day, I would get different contracts, so often I wasn't working at the same place for more than a day or two at a time. This day, I got a job that was to locate and upgrade a cash register. After driving to the site, I saw that it was Best Buy, and I happened to be wearing a blue polo that looked similar to a store uniform. Once on site, and after some searching, I found that the machine in question was one of the registers near the front of the store. So I got behind the register and started going through the repair list to complete the job. After a while, a woman walked up to the register I was at and put their item on the counter without a word. Inwardly, I found this amusing as not only was the light for the register off, but pieces of the register were on the counter as well. I simply gave a smile and said, "Sorry, can't help you," in somewhat broken English, and the lady quietly walked off to the other line she had been in previously. I think it sunk in that with the register in its current state, there was no way it could be used for quite some time. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I walked up to a cashier and the register is literally actively being taken apart, I'm not going to think, yeah, they're gonna help me with my items. Our next story is by Duende Saudade. She ate his fries off his plate. I worked at Zeta Buddies in Seattle, rest in peace, and a regular was sitting at the bar. She got up to go to the restroom, and when she passed a guy sitting down eating, he stopped her and asked her for ketchup. I saw the whole thing and laughed as I picked up a bottle of ketchup to bring it to him. But laughed even more when I saw her stop and look at the guy before grabbing fries off his plate and putting them in her mouth before turning around to continue her way to the bathroom. He was shocked, but I came up a second later laughing with the ketchup and told him next time he might not want to ask someone who'd been sitting at the bar since before he got there to fetch him something. I don't want to make assumptions as to why he was making the assumption, but I didn't feel bad for him getting his fries eaten, and I think he knew what he had done because not only did he not complain at all, but he apologized. So I think he knew why what he did was not cool. I don't know about you guys, but stealing fries off someone else's plate, especially a stranger you don't know, it's time to break the handcuffs out, you're going to jail. Don't steal my french fries. But to put it bluntly, she established dominance. Our next story is by fake name, Too Good to Be True. Years ago, when I moved into our first apartment with my girlfriend, it was our first time living on our own. We were very excited to be adults and got our first phone, landline. This was back before cell phones were the main form of communication. We were so happy to get a good, easy to remember phone number, 962-3030. Less than 2 hours after it was set up, we got our first phone call, which was odd because we didn't give anyone the phone number yet. They were looking for someone named Chase. We told them no Chase lived here and hung up. A little while later, another call with a pause when we answered hello. Then, Chase? We corrected them and they hung up. By the time we got the third and fourth call seeking Chase, we realized something may be wrong. The next person who called, we asked who Chase was and our suspicion was realized. Apparently the phone number had previously belonged to Chase Bank. I asked one of the callers how they got this number, and they say it's printed on the back of their ATM card. The next 2 days were us constantly having to insist to people the number was wrong. We're not Chase, and that if you want to give me your personal financial information, that's fine, but I'm still not a bank. We contacted the phone company who said if we wanted to change the number, we'd have to pay a fee, because that number was out of service for 90 days, and therefore could be reissued. We demanded they change the number because the phone number they gave us is still on people's bank cards, and we've received over 50 calls for Chase already. Finally, a manager gave us an exception and issued a new number. It was not at all easy to remember, but we were just happy to finally have peace. Memorable numbers are cool and all, but I feel like at some point, it's pretty easy to learn your number even if it's completely different digits all the way through. In your brain, I feel like you kind of make a song out of it. Whatever your number is, you're like 2824 or 2857. You put kind of a musical twist on the syllables. It becomes pretty easy to remember. Our next story is by I Have No Idea 098. I became a ninja to hide from a scary woman. So a few weeks ago, I was shopping in a store called Uniqlo. It's a Japanese retail store that sells good quality clothing for decent and sometimes pricey prices. So in my country, a lot of the Uniqlo employees are Eastern Asian. So as an Eastern Asian person, I sometimes get mistaken for an employee, which can be solved with a simple, I don't work here, which can be understood and they'd leave me alone. But this special little lady whom I'll call Karen is this short cute lady who doesn't look like a Karen. In fact, she was really attractive, green eyes, brunette, curly hair, black and short. So I was a bit awestruck when I saw her until she opened her mouth. Where are the coats? I say, sorry, what? She says a little louder, where are the coats? I say, oh, I don't work here. She says, sure you don't, just hurry up and take me to the coats, I'm in a rush. Now, I wasn't sure what to do for a moment. I could tell she was someone who will not listen to a word I say, so I quickly thought of something on the spot and pointed at a random aisle. It's right this way. She looks at where I'm pointing and I legged the heck out of there. Obviously I didn't run since I would get in trouble, so I quickly walked instead, and I have long legs. As I was walking, I pulled out my backpack, pulled out my long trench coat, slipped it on, and faced a random wall. I thought to myself, and begging to some sort of higher up to help me hide from this Karen. I try to erase my existence and just blend with the wall. I'm one with the wall. The wall is me. Behind me I hear the stomping of what I presume is the Karen, and I felt a gush of wind past me. I was shocked she didn't actually notice me. Before she left the aisle, I can hear her capturing a poor actual employee. "Excuse me, one of your coworkers was extremely rude to me and ditched me after I asked for help." The employee says, "Oh, I do apologize for that. May I ask who it is?" She says, "It was this tall, fat, nerdy-looking girl." The employee says, "Sorry, but you're going to need to be more specific." She kept describing me to the employee, but they were confused. They ended up going to the front desk. I couldn't believe that I actually managed to get away with that. Once the coast was clear, I left to go buy the anime shirts they had and managed to find a Naruto shirt, which I took to the self-checkout. When I got there, I noticed Karen was still here, but she was quite far from me, and she was talking to a different employee who I presume is the manager. I could tell from their expressions that they're still trying to figure the rude employee. But all in all, I found out I could become a ninja, and I'm great at hiding. Legend has it that she's still trying to find the rude employee. This is like straight out of Scooby-Doo. Who walks around with a trench coat in their backpack and they're like, "Quick, I gotta get away from this lady. Let me go for the trench coat and stare at a wall. They'll never find me here." It's straight out of the 1950s, 60s, 70s cartoons. And I love that it actually worked. You know what this means? It means all those cartoons are somewhat based in reality. This next story is by TrashyWeeb11037. Karen thinks a 13-year-old girl is a Fred Meyer employee. "So I was at the store with my mom, and I asked her if I could go buy some Pocky since I'd recently gotten my allowance. She said yes, so I walked off, pulling out my phone and putting in my headphones to play some music. When I got to the right aisle and found my precious Pocky, I knocked some of the Pocky off the shelf. So, being the responsible teenager I am, I started to pick them up to put them back. Then in comes the entitled Karen with that classic Karen haircut and wearing a neon green shirt and some shorts, which were way too short for a woman her age to be wearing. She walked right up to me and the conversation went something like this. She says, 'Excuse me,' with me not being able to hear her because of how loud my music was. The Karen grabs my shoulder and turns me to face her and says, 'Excuse me.' I jump slightly at the sudden contact and take one of my headphones out, and she says, 'Where are the insert product name?' I say, 'What?' I said, 'Where are the product name?' I say, I don't work here.' She says, 'Yes you do, I saw you stocking the shelves.' I say, 'No, I accidentally knocked them off.' She says, 'I don't care, just tell me where to find product name.' I don't know. She says, 'Where's your manager?' I say, 'I don't work.' She grabs my arm. 'We're going to find your manager.' Karen's now trying to drag me away and out of the aisle. Me, about to cry, say, 'Hey, stop.' I was starting to panic. Not knowing what to do, Karen ended up dragging me to the front of the store. People are staring at me, probably because I kept yelling. 2 employees soon come running over. Employee 1 says, 'What's going on here?' Karen, still holding on to me, says, 'Finally, your employee right here was being very rude and refused to help me.' Employee 1, confused, says, 'Ma'am, she doesn't work here.' Karen lets go of me and says, 'What do you mean?' Employee 2 says, 'Miss, are you alright?' Me, still not trying to cry, says, 'Yes.' The employee 2 says, 'Wait, how old are you?' I say, 13. Karen is now visibly pale and she starts to walk away. Employee 1 starts to chase after her and says, 'Hey.' Employee 2 stays with me and we try to look for my mom. I could have called her, but I wasn't thinking. We soon find her and she gives me a big hug and helps me calm down. I'd love to say that employee 1 got Karen, but unfortunately Karen got away. But my mom bought me Pocky as a reward. I know that isn't the most exciting story and it's kind of upsetting that the Karen got away, but thanks for reading. I'm just imagining a situation where you get to the mom calms OP down, and the mom's like, 'You know what? I'll cheer you up. I'll buy you some Pocky. Come on, kid.' So they get on over to the Pocky. The mom goes to grab some and whoop, knocks all the Pocky on the ground. Dun dun dun. 'Excuse me.' Look over and it's another Karen. 'I saw you were stocking the shelves. Do you know where product name is?' Mom and daughter look at each other. 'Not again.' And then you roll the credits. Okay. Perhaps it could be a never-ending loop. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.